Okay, y'all, I think I'm here. This is a nibletts bluff knapin presentation, and I'm just going through it. I didn't organize things or whatever. Anyway, I got the nibletts bluff. The only persons there initially were Jim Hopper, the fog master from Oregon, and Rick Schwartz from Florida. And at some point when I got there, I got this point from Jim. And then I got this jerky, and it's not beef, and I don't remember who gave it to me, but I remember it tasted good. So it's some critter that tasted good that I got from somebody. There's the hopper point closer up, and you can tell why he's the fog master. And there he is, working on something. Actually, I think he was finishing a point from a flake that I took off something. You can see we were there, kind of by ourselves. That's a display case Rick had, and he tends to bring things to show as well as the stuff that he offers to people, and so he has some pretty neat stuff in his collection actually. Some more people started arriving, and some of the early birds tend to bring some food and get it out and invite others, and that's appreciated and a good time. So there's Carl and Brenda and Billy and other people, and we had fun. That's looking south down the river toward the Gulf, and that's looking north up the river. And on the left over there is an island, pretty big island. People hunt over there. This is the next morning, and Carl does a lot of the cooking at this event. And he's got a bunch of eggs and onions and bacon and what all in there. I don't know what all was in there. Some more people start arriving. The person hiding their face with their hands I cannot identify because that would be wrong, but it is Lynn Emery. And Tex and Louise are there, and Jim and Carl and Dennis. People are showing up and setting up. This was Thursday, so the other day was Wednesday. Now this is a group right here. This is Steve Burns, who is the old-time king of Louisiana napping, best I know. I don't know anybody that's done it longer than him over there, and him and Hopper are old buds, so they were catching up. Here Steve was showing Danny from Central Texas some points, and there they all are looking at points on the back of Danny's car while everybody else is setting up. At some point Alan and Deb from Minnesota got there, and this is Alan's setup, and got a lot of Flint knapping tools, both primitive type stuff, antler and stuff, and then a bunch of copper things that he's made. It's always good to see them. This was a thing Jim came up with. He's sorting flakes. He was getting some heated flakes that he had, and he was going to have a knapping competition with them. This is some Hickston I picked up early on. I'm not sure anybody else ever even knew these pieces of Hickston were there, but somebody had gotten Hickston, which is a fairly hard to acquire, like an ortho quartzite material from the Northeast, and I guess it was irregular in shape, and they ground it down semi-regular to make it a little more workable, so I was happy to get that. And this, since I show rock because I figure everybody likes to see rock, right? This is Springfield Burlington and some Creek Burlington that Jim Redfern had out in front of his setup. This is Lynn's setup. He always has, he's real good at the primitive crafts. He does instruction and that kind of stuff, and he makes a lot of things. Very handy with making all kinds of neat stuff. Here's some more of his stuff. At some point, a couple of teepees go up. It's always good to have them at nap-ins. This is Jim Hopper stuff, and you can see he's standing there by some of his points. It was a rare opportunity to see and possibly acquire one or more of his points, and then he also had relatively rarely offered material, some of which he has exclusive ability to get up there in Oregon. So This is the second year he's been down, and it's pretty neat that he has. Okay, so here I just wanted you to see this is indirect percussion on a wild hog by Jim Redfern and Kent Holloway. So there you have it. If you've been wondering how you do indirect percussion, that's how. So here was an atlatl discussion between Danny and Lynn. Here's some more cooking going on, Jim Redfern, and then Michael, and then Kent. And see, I got this shirt from Debbie from Oklahoma, and you know, I never could talk myself into wearing it because I'm just like, you know, if I put that on, everybody's gonna think, who's that guy trying to be? And the other guys wear them, you know, but they're hipper than me, so I don't know. In the interest of showing you more rock, this is Keith from San Antonio's rock, and this stuff is all Georgetown, and this is Pedernales River area material, Gillespie County, Kimball County, whatever. This was a fire making demonstration. That was pretty interesting. You take a little bit of cotton and put it out into a thin roll, and then you put a little bit of ashes on it and put it on a flat board, and take another flat board and put it on top of it and rub it, push down hard and rub back and forth, and all of a sudden you got fire. It was pretty impressive. It worked like a charm. This is another picture of Jim Hopper's stuff. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. Is that cool or what? Alright. I'm trying to do this with one hand while I hold the mic to my ear with the other. This is a Cool Guys Knapping group. And they make some neat stuff. That's that bucket of Flint Ridge put out for people to cherry pick. And that stuff's a long ways from home, so you know it is really good that it shows up occasionally. Kind of a view from the south looking north at some of the stuff. There was still stuff beside and behind me. SJD came over from Mississippi to stare at me taking a picture of him. He's a good guy. This is a neat setup here. Dadgummit. Wichita Trading Company. Old time masters, older work, and more recent work. Yvette Harper has this stuff, and it's a real opportunity to acquire things, but it also is a neat opportunity to compare old work to new work. It's pretty neat. So this is when they had the crawfish boil Friday night, and you can see, you know, there's like a pretty good crowd munching out on crawfish. Okay, so here is a short, although not high quality video.
Sabine River, Nibletts, Bluff, Knapping, 2018.
Of course, you've seen all this in the earlier slides, but still. It was just kind of like proof that some people stay up and nap and talk and do all that kind of stuff long after I'm asleep. Alright. I don't know, I like pictures of nap-ins at night, even though I get tired and go crash. Here's nappers. Some of the best Cumberlands on the planet come out of this group. You can see the Solberger jig to the left. Okay, this was a collection being examined with intensity by people. Here's that group I was saying that they knock out killer Cumberlands and stuff. Here's some stuff that various people in that group made. And there are Cumberlands in presence, and Folsoms, and numerous other things. Here's what happened here. I had some stuff that I took because I wasn't going to work it. One of the pieces was a flat slab of that opalized glass stuff, and I ended up giving that to Jim Redfern, who promptly made this point out of it. And beside the point is a cast he has that was done by Charlie Shuey of an original issue point. So there was a comparative analysis going on right there. And he just did that, you know. And actually the person he ended up making it for stood there and watched him while he was doing a lot of it. So he can nap under pressure by looking. Oh, that was an in-process thing of the napping competition, that the point-making competition that Jim Hopper did. This, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but this is a picture, obviously when he wasn't present, of the assortment of tools that Jim Redfern uses. This, on the other hand, is a picture of Danny's Abo tackle box and hooks made out of stone and handmade cordage and all that kind of stuff that he uses for fishing. And this is a bad picture, but you can see here on the left, this is his homemade fishing pole, where even the ferrules on the pole are made out of bamboo, I think, or something. I don't want to talk about this picture, but this guy on the ground, I can't say his name, but his initials are Randy Beach, and he's a purveyor of Randy candy, you know, Gee Whiz agate and stuff from various parts. That's Jim Redfern, and in actuality, something else was going on there, and this became a stage thing when he realized I was taking a picture. But I will also say, okay, this picture is subsequent to that, so you can see that in this picture, apparently, Randy is fine, and George is fine and was uninvolved in that, and Jim has gone back to doing napping stuff. But Randy was supposed to show up in Arkansas and never made it, and so I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so the story here is that it was the end of the Louisiana nap-in, and so like 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or even 6:30 in the morning, whatever, I jumped up, did my laundry, dried it one time on an ineffective motel dryer, and didn't want to stay for another hour to run it through another cycle, so I spread it out in my truck and headed for Arkansas. The two pictures on the left are obviously an in-process thing, and then this is the quote-unquote finished thing, and yes, I did leave that little cortex on the tip in purpose. The thing I wanted to tell you is this was kind of a tough rock, and I've been having some issues for half a year or so. So there is zero pressure flaking on this, none. Every flake you see was percussion. And, you know, I started out with direct percussion, and I went progressively smaller with indirect percussion. The smallest flakes were done with 1/4 inch indirect percussion. Okay, so what else is here? Okay, this was a lightly heated rock that a guy walked up and asked me to do. It was actually, I say a guy, it was Dan from Florida. He wanted me to demo making a point out of his rock, and so I made this point out of his rock, and because it was heated, I just did light. This is pressure work on this one, but it's not my usual pressure work. It wasn't nearly as aggressively done as my usual work. But anyway, I thought it was a fairly decent point considering. That's the end of this presentation. Thank you for your attention. How do I turn this thing off? Hold on.